Okay, so I think all of you have the current affairs material with you. So I won't be dealing with all the issues, but some issues which I feel are very important. So these are the issues which I would be dealing in detail. The income declaration scheme, issues about national agricultural market, help, accelerated irrigation benefit program, a report of Niti Aayog on minimum support price, DBT in fertilizer subsidy, and e-commerce industry in India. Rest of the topics you could, if you have any doubt, I could take it here. If not, you could, I think, just simply read and understand those topics. Okay, so let's start then with the first topic, income declaration scheme. Hello, am I audible to all of you? Okay. So what is the income declaration scheme? Many of you might have heard, this is a new scheme which is announced by the government in the budget. So do you know about this? So this is what is the criticism of the scheme? That is, it is a scheme which provides an opportunity to turn concealed income into legitimate income. That is, जो काला पैसा है उसको सफ़ेद कर लो. So you have to pay a penalty, 30% tax, 7.5% surcharge and 7.5% penalty. So that is, you have to pay 45% of the total amount that you are disclosing to the government, and 55% of white money you would be getting. Are you understanding what I am trying to say? That is, if you say that I have 100 rupees, that is, if you say I have 100 rupees which is black, the government would say give us 45, we will make this 55 white. This is wrong. So this is the scheme. The scheme would be open for 4 months starting from 1st of June. Now what is the importance of the scheme? So for that I think we need to go back a bit into the background, that is it the scheme first of its kind in India, or was it some scheme which was also there before? So what the BJP government said is that in 1997 we had a scheme of the same, something of the same name, VDIS, Voluntary Disclosure of Income Scheme, whereby in that year the finance minister was Mr. Chidambaram. What he said is that give us 30% of your money and we will make all your black into white. So that was again an amnesty scheme. It was indeed you could say a scheme which helped government to mop up taxes to the tune of rupees 10,000 crore. So now you could understand the importance of the scheme, that in the year 1997 the government was able to mop up such huge amount of money. Why the scheme was successful in that year 1997? There were some reasons for this particular event that happened. The center said to the states that we will share with you a very high amount of money which we would be getting. Further, Mr. Chidambaram said that before 1997 the tax rate were very high, so most of the people they just evade taxes. So 1997 was also one of those years where we went for a rationalization of our tax system. That was one of those years where we went for a slab based income tax, that is 30%, 20% and 10%, which is also there in the current regime. Now this is what happened in 1997. It helped in rationalizing of the tax system and also helped in widening the tax base. So widening the tax base, what does we mean by widening the tax base? That is कि पहले भाई 5 लोग ही पैसे देते थे. Now we are trying to widen it. Let's say now 5 plus 5, 10 people are giving the taxes. Why? Because we have rationalized the system. Previously we said कि 20% you have to pay. Now we are saying only 10% you have to pay. So many people who were not paying taxes previously would come and want to pay the taxes. Further, there was also a scheme, I think you must have heard last year, when government brought a bill for foreign money which is staged abroad. Foreign black money compliance window was there. So if you look at that particular scheme, in that the foreign account holder has to pay 60% of the money, that is 30% tax and 30% penalty. So what the government got? Only rupees 2500 crore as taxes and 4147 crore rupee people disclosed as their foreign income. So here you could say that it is something which is too less, because I think a major party said that we will bring back all the money that is staged abroad. So what the government got? Only 4147 crore rupees. So again it is further, it needs to be seen that how many people have their account in Panama, how much money we could bring back. So this is what, this is like one of the comparison that in our current scheme we only have to pay 45% as tax. When we are bringing the money from a foreign country, we have to pay 60% of the tax. So why not he would round tip his money, let it back to India and then pay 45% rather than paying 60%. So there are various arguments which are given, plus minus, but nothing much. You just need to know about the scheme. It is a direct question on the scheme is I don't think there could be a direct question on the scheme, but yes, if there is a question on black money or what are the steps that the government is taking with regard to bringing back black money, then maybe you could write about this scheme. You could write about what are the plus and negatives of the scheme. Now why the scheme is important? The scheme is important because what the government has said is that we are giving an opportunity to all the people to declare their income which is black. Once that window is closed, then we will use all the machinery that we have to curb down on the menace of black money in India. Okay. So this is what our finance minister said. Let's see how many people come forward and subscribe to the scheme. The second important point regarding the scheme is that you must have heard that there is a lot of discussion in the international arena that we need to curb the menace of money laundering or tax evasion. Okay. So this is also in tune with the global discussion or global crackdown on tax evasion. So you could also see this scheme as one step in that direction. And as the finance minister has said, once the scheme is closed, government can use its machinery for a crackdown. Then the people who are, let's say, penalized won't come and say that you did not give us a chance to legitimize our own money. Nothing more than that. The scheme is just that much. Any one of you, if I have any doubt with this scheme, maybe we could talk about it. The 60% is the penalty. It's like if you have, let's say, 100 rupees in Panama, you want to bring that money to India, then the government would say, give us 60 rupees, you keep 40. You don't have to discuss anything else. Just tell us that you have 100 rupees abroad. If you want to give it, if you want it back to India, give us 60 rupees as taxes. You can keep that 40 rupees in India. That is, again, you are converting a money which is not known. The source of this money is not known. But then the government will legitimize and give you 40 rupees. It will take 60 rupees as taxes.
So that will be in terms of asset or
anything. It could be anything.
so tax rationalization means what?
Tax rationalization means, let's say in the year 1950 the income tax was 90%. Will you give tax let's say in the year 1955, just assume the income tax rate was 90%. That is, if you earn 100 rupees, 90 rupees you have to give to the government, 10 rupees will be with you, you won't give. Okay. What I mean by tax rationalization is that having a tax rate such that people would be willingly complying with the system. You are rationalizing the taxes, or rationalizing the tax with respect to keeping slabs, that is, whose income is up till 10 lakhs, they have to pay a certain amount of tax. Whose income is up to, let's say ki up to 5 lakhs, you have to pay 10% of tax. Up till 10 lakhs, 20%. Above 10 lakhs, 30%. So this is, you are rationalizing the tax system on the basis of, let's say, income. So this is what I mean by rationalization.
And like making e-payment, those all things are comes under rationalization.
E-payments, that is like, that I won't say rationalization, but that is a method to simplification. Matlab you could say ki people would be more willingly or able to come and comply with the laws. That is,
These are also tax rationalization.
no, this won't come under rationalization. This is like giving you one more window for compliance.
And simplification of the taxation system.
Simplification is also this only.
System is different.
How?
Right? Law is different. System is that is what who is not paying tax or who is paying it. That system is different.
Sir, for example, which you took the 60% deduction. Sir, is it when the money is brought back to India or to oneself? Like, is it given to the government or
60% money will be given to the government. That is the taxes.
and
40% he can
brought
keep.
back to India?
He can brought it back. He can keep it in foreign shore also.
Why would somebody?
No, because then it would be legitimized. Then when next time he will be bringing that money back to India, he has the government's permission to bring it back. The tax authorities won't be questioning him that where this money came from.
Even the money was laundered in the first place from India.
That is, irrespective of where the money came from. This is like a scheme where you could just convert. That is why it is said na ki convert anything which you have into white. We will but pay the taxes. So this is like a scheme for a particular time, you could say. After that time, then the government could do anything. If they find that you have, let's say, 10,000 rupees anywhere and you are not able to talk about the source of that income, then the tax authorities could penalize you. Moving forward,
So there was some punishment
for punishment
jail
for jail for what?
foreigners.
If they
They won't disclose this.
then there are a number of laws through which the government could penalize. So there are a number of laws. This is just one scheme where you could tell the government that we have such money, okay, take the taxes and let us legitimize our money. After that, the government could do anything to the people. Moving forward, second topic, national agriculture market. I think आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कि the government of India launched this national agriculture market. It's a pan-India electronic trading portal which seeks to connect existing APMCs and other market yards to create a unified national market for agricultural commodities. ठीक है, here it is important to understand the background कि what is happening in India is that you have not one market but you have a number of markets. Why? Because presently markets in agricultural products, they are regulated by APMC Act. Okay, every state has their own APMC acts. That is, if we go by the data of economic survey, there are about 2477 principal regulated market based on geography and 4843 sub market yards regulated by the respective APMCs in India. मतलब आप लोग समझ रहे हैं कि what is the gravity of the situation. For example, the whole Europe is one single market. Go do whatever you want anywhere. And in India, if you have, let's say, a particular product in a particular state, it will be taxed differently. When you take it to another different place, it will be taxed differently. That is, you have number of different markets which are regulated by number of different acts, which has number of different taxes. What happened? You want to switch it off? Okay. So effectively, what is there? India has not one but thousands of markets. So thereby always we are saying that there is a need to regulate, or there is a need to unify those markets. Okay. Thereby first, if we go in a chronological order, we had a model APMC Act which came in 2003. A lot of states adopted those model APMC Act, but now the government is saying that we should have a unified national market. Now the problem here is that the main problem is agriculture is a which subject? Agriculture is a state subject. So can the union make a law on agriculture? So this is the main problem. So what the survey says is that every APMCs, they levy multiple fees of substantial magnitude that are non-transparent and hence a source of political power. So if you want to study this topic in detail, maybe you could refer to last year's survey. There is a separate chapter on APMC where the survey has rightly pointed out that how much taxes are levied by different states. Let's say Andhra Pradesh is levying 15% taxes, Punjab is levying 7% taxes, Tamil Nadu is levying its own percentage of taxes. Then it is not only about taxes, but also if you have to work in a particular market, you have to get a license. So for working in any market, you have to get a license. Currently, it is not that for the whole state there is a single license. If let's say there are different district yards, so working in any particular yard, again you need a license. Okay. So this again creates multiple layers. Thereby the survey is pointing out that it is a source of political power. आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि कई बार मंडियों में whoever is politically very well connected, they become its officers or they become traders in that particular mandi. ठीक है. So the whole idea or objective of having a regulated market was to protect the interest of the producer and the consumer. But what is happening? Whose interest is being protected by having a regulated mandi? The interest of the middleman is getting protected. So now what the government said we will bring this model APMC Act. Now what the model APMC Act specifies is that it provides for direct sale of farm produce to contract farming sponsors. It says that you should have special markets, let's say for horticulture products. You should have separate markets for specified agricultural commodities. Further, it says that even private market yards could also be set up. It says there should be a single levy of market fee on the sale of notified agricultural commodities in any area. It replaces licensing with registration of market functionaries, which would allow a single guy to operate in the whole state rather than taking licenses for operation in various districts. It provides for the establishment of consumers and farmers market to facilitate direct sale of agricultural produce. This is again very important because according to the APMC Act, the first sale of your agricultural produce could only be in that regulated market. And further it says that ki whatever revenue that you are generating, you could again use that revenue for, let's say, creating infrastructure in your marketing yard. Ki you have to create a warehouse, or you have to install various standardization equipments. Now these are the points which the central government said, but most of the states, some of the states complied with, let's say, 4 points, some of the states went with 5 points, but none of the states applied all the 7 points. So that is why the current government is saying ki why not let's have a national agricultural system or national agricultural marketing system, whereby virtually all the commodities could be traded. So what would be the benefits? I think benefits you all very well know कि भाई एक national system हो जाएगा, तो the main aim would be price discovery. कि ऐसा नहीं होगा कि प्याज तमिलनाडु में 4 रुपए किलो मिल रहे हैं और पंजाब में 50 रुपए किलो मिल रहे हैं. So you would have a national system whereby there would be a national discovery of the price mechanism. फर्दर इट वुड अगेन, मतलब जो भी आपको चीज़ समझ में आती है कि जहाँ से भी आप गवर्नमेंट को हटाओगे, सो वट एवर बी द बेनिफिट्स दैट यू कुड थिंक ऑफ, दैट विल बी एक्रूड व्हेन वी विल गो विद दिस पर्टिकुलर प्रोसेस. It will eliminate information asymmetry, it will lead to ease of doing business, especially for the farmers. Now what is the prerequisite? The prerequisite is, in order for a state to be a part of NAM, it needs to undertake some prior reform. एक तो ये होना चाहिए कि पूरे स्टेट में एक सिंगल लाइसेंस होना चाहिए कि फॉर मार्केटिंग देयर शुड बी अ सिंगल पॉइंट लेवी ऑफ मार्केट फी, कि ऐसा ना हो कि हर एक स्टेप पे आपको मार्केट फीस देनी पड़ रही हो. फिर प्रोविजन फॉर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ऑक्शन एज अ मोड ऑफ प्राइस डिस्कवरी, जैसा कि कर्नाटका ने किया है. So Karnataka, this is one of the best practices which was given in the survey, that what Karnataka did in Karnataka, it tried to integrate all its yards or sub yards into one single system. That is, you have to pay a single license fee, and after that you could operate throughout any market yard in Karnataka. Further, with the help of information technology, it has created this Rashtriya E-Market Services Limited, a joint venture by the state government and NCDEX Spot Exchange. This exchange is used for price discovery across the state. वो बोलते हैं ना कि virtual trading होती है, and on the basis of that trading, price discovery is done for various agricultural products. Further, once you have such a policy, इसके बाद क्या होता है कि private sector would also be incentivized to invest in the agricultural sector in India, because you know what is happening with agricultural sector. There is very little private investment. Why? Because of ad hoc nature of policy of the government of India. Moving forward, the next topic that we have is help in it is again very difficult to say how GST would be playing a role, because if you create a single system, ऐसे भी agricultural income जो है, it is like you don't have to pay any taxes on the agricultural income. नहीं, once you create a national system कि भाई आपने एक पूरा national system बना दिया जहाँ पे आपको एक single point of levy of fee देना पड़ रहा है, then it won't come under the domain of GST. भाई agricultural commodities, there is a different tax on that. ठीक है, I don't think मतलब GST could play any role. मतलब I haven't read it also anywhere कि भाई GST will play a very role in easing out the business for especially agricultural products. Maybe like the processed food sector, that would improve by having GST. कि the marketing of processed foods will come under this. Am I audible now? Okay. Moving further, a simple change in the policy of Government of India, NELP to help. सो व्हाट इज हेल्प, आई थिंक अगर आपके पास नोट्स होंगे तो आप देख सकते हैं. Hydrocarbon exploration and licensing policy. It is the a new policy which the government unveiled. So the objectives, please learn the objectives, which is very well given. Any policy which is brought by the government of India, please try to go and see what are the objectives of bringing that policy. So if there is a question on this particular policy, then you could start your answer by directly writing the objectives of the policy. So the objectives are for enhancing domestic oil and gas production, bringing substantial investment, generating employment, enhancing transparency and reducing administrative discretion. तो अगेन मतलब लाइक वेरी ब्रॉड ऑब्जेक्टिव जो हर एक पॉलिसी की होती है कि भाई जो भी हो सकता है हमें सब कुछ करना है. Now what are the main facets of the policy? I think it would be good if we compare HELP with NELP, then it would be better for us to understand. I am just trying to give you also an overview of NELP, that is what was National Exploration Licensing Policy. It was created in 1997. Now see what is happening with respect to the policy. Between 1998 and 2012, there were 9 rounds of auctions, in which 254 blocks were awarded. Of that, 178 are active and 78 have already been given. Now out of that blocks which were given, 126 discoveries have been made in 41 active blocks, but commercial production has been commenced only in 3 blocks. Then there are various reasons for the delay in such process, but one of the biggest drawback which you must also have heard about the KG D6 basis, कि जब हम production sharing contract use करते हैं, so what is happening in this production sharing model, that you would be sharing the profit with the government of India. ठीक है, profit के पहले you would be given a chance to recover all the capital that you have invested. ठीक है, मतलब अगर ये आपका तेल का कुआं है तो कुएं से तेल निकालने के लिए यू हैव टू बिल्ड दैट इंस्ट्रूमेंट. ठीक है. So what the government said in this particular model is that first the private player would be given a chance to recover the money for this infrastructure or capital which he has invested, and then whatever gas is there or whatever, let's say, oil is there, the profit would be shared between government and the bidder, whoever has bid. ठीक है, and it would be predetermined that what would be the sharing percentage. Now what happens here is that most of the companies, they go for this, that what they say is that they do book management or they gold plate, I think this phenomena is known as gold plating their accounts, कि अगर एक पाइप 100 रुपए का आ रहा है तो they will say that no, it is of 10,000. ठीक है. Now nobody is gonna ask you that is this pipe is for 100 rupees or 10,000 rupees. Thereby this capital, you would say कि we have invested a very huge capital. ठीक है. Then the government can't ask you for a share. Once this is done, then only this will come into picture. Thereby a lot of private companies, especially Reliance, is fighting with the government of India, and I think now they have gone for an international arbitration process. Other point is that कि once you have invested this much, what can government do? मतलब भाई ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा गवर्नमेंट ये होगा कि भाई तुम छोड़ के चले जाओ. मतलब गवर्नमेंट will say to the private player, just leave this. Then also the private player would be at a you could say advantageous stage. Why? Because the new company which will come, they will try to get the same platform rather than having their own platform. ठीक है. So it gives a very good incentive to the private player to gold plate its account. Okay, so this was the biggest drawback which was happened with respect to the KG D6 basin. Thereby, in this new policy of HELP, the government said ki no, we won't want anything. We will go for revenue sharing model. So this is like the difference, that revenue sharing model, whatever revenue is generated, we will share it, and what or how we will share it, that will be determined by the bid. कि initially every private payer has to bid कि भाई let's say अगर 100 रुपए का profit और revenue generate हो रहा है तो every private payer has to bid that how much they will give it to the government, and whoever has the highest bid they will be getting that particular oil block. ठीक है, so this is the new model that the government is trying to bring. Revenue sharing, cost recovery is not applicable, which was again a very important point of contention. Now one other important point about the difference in both the scheme is the exploration period. On land and shallow water 7 year, deep water and ultra deep water 8 year. Other than that, the government has different measures for on land, shallow, deep water and ultra deep water exploration. Rest I think a bit technical, not of much use, neither in your answer nor anywhere else. So there could be a very well question from this particular subtopic, that how HELP is a very important, you could say, how HELP is an important or a significant step forward in comparison to NELP, whether HELP will lead to private investment or not, whether HELP can rejuvenate the oil and gas sector in India or not. So maybe you could use this particular graph, or sorry, you could use this particular comparison in your answer to bring forward the differences. Anything else in this you are not able to understand? Yeah.
So what is the difference in revenue and profit?
नहीं, इट्स वे प्रॉफिट तो आप मतलब प्रॉफिट तो ये होता है ना कि आप सब कुछ काटने के बाद जो प्रॉफिट बचेगा दैट ओनली यू कुड शेयर. रेवेन्यू तो इनिशियली मतलब जो भी आपको चीज मिल रहा है, लेट्स से कि लेट्स से यू हैव let's say you have 10 liters of petrol. Okay, you are 50 rupees per liter. 500 is your revenue. Now what would be the profit? You have to subtract your cost, you have to subtract the taxes, then सब कुछ काटने के बाद फिर प्रॉफिट आता है. Now this profit would be shared with the government. यहाँ पे सीधा रेवेन्यू, जो आपका रेवेन्यू आया वहीं से एक परसेंटेज विल बी गिवन टू द गवर्नमेंट, 1% विल बी केप्ट बाय द प्राइवेट प्लेयर.
So will it not curb the interest of private payer?
Sorry?
Will it not curb the interest of private
No,
payer?
मतलब it is for the private payer to decide that whether they want to invest or not. ठीक है, if you have a very stable policy, if the government is really want the private players to invest, then they will come forward and invest. ठीक है, this is something which is a resource which is under bid. ठीक है, a lot of money is generated out of that. ठीक है, so if they are bidding at a very competitive rate, then I think they will generate revenue out of it. There won't be any difficulty, there won't be any technical difficulties like which is happening in this production sharing contract, where they went to the court, then the CAG said we want to audit, but then the private player said no, we won't let the CAG audit our own accounts. Okay, so there won't be any such controversy. मतलब it would be a very simple step. ठीक है कि भाई सब कुछ प्राइवेट प्लेयर का है, even the private player could define the rate at which they want to sell. Whereas in that production this profit sharing contract, you must have heard that previously the government said no, you have to give it for 4.12. After that the Reliance said no, we want 8.4. ठीक है, तो every time there is a contention कि what would be the rate, and then a lot of power politics happens here. In revenue sharing model, it will be known from the initial bidding that how much revenue the private company is willing to share with the government. ठीक है, thereby it would be like risk involved would be less. बाकी तो सब कुछ सेम होता है, उतना क्या डिफरेंस आता है.
So it means the sharing will be decided at the initial level.
हाँ, at the bidding level.
Rather than
हाँ हाँ, मतलब बिडिंग के लेवल पे ही होगा ना, क्योंकि बिडिंग के बाद ही पता चलेगा कि विच प्राइवेट प्लेयर इज गेटिंग दैट ब्लॉक.
So what is the difference in block and mine?
ब्लॉक एंड
Mine.
यार एक्चुअली मतलब ब्लॉक ऑक्शन यू कुड से कि जो DGH है, डायरेक्टरेट जनरल ऑफ हाइड्रोकार्बन्स, ठीक है, दे ट्राई टू, जैसे अगर ये पूरा एरिया है, दे ट्राई टू कैटेगराइज दैट एरिया इनटू वेरियस ब्लॉक्स. मतलब इट कुड बी एनीथिंग, मतलब दे हैव देयर ओन सेट ऑफ टेक्निकल क्राइटेरिया जिसके बेसिस पे वो अंडरग्राउंड जो रिजर्व होता है उसको कैटेगराइज करते हैं ब्लॉक्स में. तो आई डोंट नो अबाउट देयर क्राइटेरिया, बट दिस इज लाइक हाउ इट हैपेंस. इस करंट पॉलिसी में हेल्प में वन अदर गुड एस्पेक्ट इज दैट कि वॉट एवर यू गेट हियर इज योर्स. If you get gas, it's yours. If you get petrol, it's yours. If you get anything, it's yours. In the previous policy, there you need separate licenses. अगर पेट्रोल चाहिए उसके लिए अलग लाइसेंस होगा, गैस मिला है उसके लिए अलग लाइसेंसेस होगा. तो many a times what happens is that कि Reliance got the license for petrol and ONGC got the license for gas, और Reliance ने दोनों निकाल लिया.
But in this whole one we will get both, right? It will not be like gas and petrol.
Again that depends on the geography of the area. मतलब it is not
No, it will not be like block separate for gas and one block is separate for petrol.
मतलब again मतलब that is like a technical stuff which depends upon the मतलब it depends कि in many a place you will get only gas, you won't get the gasoline. In many places you will get petrol. Moving forward, one of the most important topic of your syllabus, minimum support price. So Niti Aayog presented a report on minimum support price. Now it is not that कि नीति आयोग came and they went for this report और सारा कुछ उन्होंने कर दिया और हो गया. The work started in 2007-8 and the data which is collected for this report is up till 2010-11. So it was all planning commission, but now the Niti Aayog is eating the cake, you could say. So the main objectives of the report was to assess the impact of MSP on creating a predictable and equitable crop price regime. मतलब ऑब्जेक्टिव आप पढ़ सकते हैं. I will basically tell you in crux what the report is all about. The report is trying to get into the ground level, it is trying to use the ground level data and identify that whether we are able to achieve the objective of MSP at the ground level or not. That is how much percentage of farmers know that there is something which is known as MSP. In how many states procurement at MSP is done. In how many states the prices of commodities are at MSP. Is it above MSP? Is it below MSP? ठीक है. So this is what was the objective of this report, to go to the ground and find out what is happening in real. Because भाई ऐसा कई बार होता है ना कि सरकार ने पॉलिसी बना दी बट या तो आपको पता ही नहीं है, पता है लेकिन वो सरकारी ऑफिसर मना कर रहा है कि नहीं नहीं वी डोंट हैव एनी प्लेस, या फिर यू डोंट हैव वेयर हाउस टू कीप दैट, और यू आर नॉट पेइंग द अमाउंट एट द राइट टाइम कि यू हैव प्रोक्योर्ड इट राइट नाउ एंड लेट्स से कि यू आर पेइंग द अमाउंट आफ्टर 3 months 4 months. तो दिस वाज अ रिपोर्ट. Now here you have to also understand that if there is a report on this, then there was something of MSP, that why we require MSP at the very first place, that why we want to have a minimum support price. So the idea is to give a guaranteed price and assured market to the farmers and to protect them from price fluctuations and market imperfection. That is कि अगर सरकार पहले ही ये बता दे कि भाई जो आप प्रोड्यूस करोगे हम उसको इतने रुपए में खरीदेंगे, then the farmer is willing to like go and produce that particular commodity. So since there is a lot of fluctuation, since there is a lot of power asymmetry between the farmer and the market or the player who is purchasing it, the government came out with this MSP कि भाई इतनी commodities होंगी और उसमें we will set the price every year. Now this report also went into this particular point, that whether the farmer was able to know it before the season or after it, कि भाई सीजन के पहले जैसे गवर्नमेंट डिक्लेयर करती है कि व्हाट इज द एमएसपी, तो क्या फार्मर को सीजन के पहले पता चल गया था कि सरकार ने इतना एमएसपी दिया है, या फिर उसे सीजन के पहले नहीं पता चला, बाद में पता चला. तो द रिपोर्ट टॉक्स अबाउट ऑल दिस पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट्स. आई वोंट गो इनटू द डिटेल ऑफ रिपोर्ट. maybe you could go into the website of नीति आयोग, you could download the report. एक पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर में वो लिखा हुआ है कि भाई कितने परसेंटेज लोगों ने क्या किया, कितने परसेंटेज लोगों ने क्या किया, मतलब एक वो सैम्पल सर्वे टाइप का किया था इन्होंने. सो व्हाट दे नोटिस्ड, मतलब जनरली व्हाट दे नोटिस्ड विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस इज दैट कि समटाइम्स द प्रोक्योरमेंट सेंटर्स बीइंग फार अवे रिजल्टिंग इनटू हैवी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट, non-opening of centers in a timely manner, lack of covered storage go down facility for temporary storage of produce, lack of standardization you could say or weighing machine. मतलब ये सब चीज़ें देखो, ये सब प्रैक्टिकल चीज़ें हैं कि जब आप ग्राउंड में जाके उस गोडाउन में जाओगे या जहाँ भी प्रोक्योर हो रहा है वहाँ जाके देखोगे तब आपको पता लगेगा. भाई वन थिंग इज दैट ना, यू हैव रिटन ऑन द पेपर कि ओके एमएसपी होता है, वी आर गिविंग it to all the farmers and our farmers are very happy. Other thing is that you go on to the ground, see what is happening. So this is a report on that. This is what they said is a problem with respect to the implementation, that is procurement is not having at the district level. Let's say you are at the northern part of the district and procurement is happening in some other district which is very far, तो transportation cost ही आपको इतना लग जा रहा है अपना produce वहाँ से वहाँ लेके जाने में. So these are some of the implementational problems. What is the conclusion that they brought out of their report? Regional imbalances exist in the implementation of MSP. Now what here I mean by regional imbalance is that कि let's say इस साल पंजाब से procurement बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है, मध्य प्रदेश से procurement बहुत कम हो रहा है, ठीक है. So there is a lot of this type of imbalances which is happening. कहीं पे wheat का procurement हो रहा है, कहीं पे rice का procurement हो रहा है. In some states cotton is also procured. In some states one or two other commodities are also procured. But this is not again same with respect to all the states. But one of the important or vital conclusion that the report said is that farmer wants to have MSP. They are saying that at least they feel a sense of let's say satisfaction or a sense of security that okay, there is someone who is trying to care for us. At least they will get some amount of price. So on the whole, it was found that the MSP has succeeded in providing floor rate for major food grains like paddy and wheat and other produces. Further, one thing that you have to understand the difference कि this MSP is a policy of the government of India, whereas the price which is announced by the government for sugarcane, fair and remunerative price, this is under a statutory act. Thereby, if the mill owners are not paying the price which the government has said, then it is illegal. They could be penalized by the law. But this is MSP is just a policy. Okay, you can't go to the court and take a recourse that the market player is giving you money below MSP. If the government is procuring, then it will procure at minimum MSP. But if the private player is procuring here, you can't go to the court of law. Here you can go to the court of law because it is a statutory act. So this is one of the major differences between the two.
Why did they take it only for sugarcane?
Yeah, I think power politics. Because maybe I think the power asymmetry is very high because all the mill associations, okay, they are mostly very big mills which are there for sugarcane. Okay, now they could do anything for the farmer, so maybe that might be one of the reason. I am not very sure.
Production of sugarcane, but they are not getting it.
Sorry.
Production is more for sugarcane, but the mill owners are there. They are not able to pay the farmer.
I don't really know the.
They declare the MSP at the time of harvest
Hmm.
and at the time of the sowing. So what is the advantage?
At the time of harvest, sorry. No, they declare it before the sowing season.
And if they declare it after at the time of
By
harvest,
इट हेल्प्स यू इन डिसीजन मेकिंग कि आपको क्या प्रोड्यूस करना है, उससे पहले ही मैंने प्राइस डिक्लेयर कर दिया. इट हेल्प्स यू इन डिसाइडिंग दैट विच कमोडिटी आई शुड प्रोड्यूस. बाद में करने से क्या फ़र्क पड़ेगा, बाद में करने से यू कुड ओनली डिटरमाइन द मार्केट रिस्क और यू कुड हेल्प इन डिटरमाइनिंग द प्राइस इन द मार्केट. अगर आपने पहले ही बता दिया देन इट विल हेल्प द फार्मर इन डिसाइडिंग दैट विच फार्मिंग कमोडिटी आई शुड प्रोड्यूस. ये डिफरेंस होता है दोनों में.
So they will prefer what is there.
Obviously they will prefer for which MSP is there. So this is what is happening with respect to rice and meat in India. Everyone wants to grow rice and wheat. Why? Because the government is procuring it. Government is not procuring lentils in many area. Government is not procuring cotton in many area. MSP is declared for nearly 22 crops, 22 commodities. 22 plus one sugar cane, 23 I think.
24.
अच्छा 24 हो गया, ठीक है. It is for 23 commodities. ठीक है, but it is not procuring all of them. So farmers will obviously go for whatever product if they have a assured, they have an assurance from the government that we will procure it. So this is the difference.
Sir, like for example, you have cash crop. Like for cash crop,
Hmm.
this kind of things.
Sorry, cash crop.
Cash crops.
हाँ.
So these MSP, I don't think they never do.
Again, this is a policy decision which depends upon the government of India. मतलब I can't comment कि whether it will be there or not. You could say. Moving forward, what are the recommendations? I think it is very well given in the notebook. Maybe you could go and read. I think we might be running out of time, so I'm not reading. But whatever you could think, there should be go downs, there should be warehousing facility, information asymmetry which is there should be taken off. भाई हर village में या हर district में जो भी CSC होते हैं, that is those CSC centers would be able to tell it to the farmers that what is the MSP. ठीक है, या फिर maybe the district administration could take an initiative for information and communication. So whatever you could think what is wrong is the recommendation here. There is nothing which is very new or very special about it. Moving forward is the next topic, accelerate. Sorry, CSCs, they are this customer or common service centers. I think they are in Karnataka. They are there. Maybe they are known by different names in different states. Kishan Kalyan Kendra is there. Then in this Madhya Pradesh there is something like E-Chopal. So everywhere there is different centers to provide information of various government services. Moving forward, the second last topic is irrigation thrust in budget. That is accelerated irrigation benefit program. So this topic is again very important, thereby I choose to decide on this topic to discuss. So what is the percentage irrigation coverage in our country? So what is the percentage irrigation coverage? 45%. That is the current cultivable area which is under irrigation. There is 23% gap which exists between irrigation potential created and utilized. Can someone tell me the difference between?
Created means on paper we
Huh.
have created that this much can be irrigated, but potentially on field.
On field, what is happening? That is, let's say we have created a canal, okay, but we have diverted the whole water to this area only. This farms, they are not able to use the water which we are providing through this irrigation. Okay, that is, we have, let's say, created the irrigation potential for 10,000 acres, but we are only able to irrigate 5,000 acres out of it. So that is what here we mean by irrigation potential created and utilized. A lot of water which is here, it goes wasted. Okay, so that is also a criticism of major irrigation projects that we have undertaken in India. a lot of water tends to seep in, a lot of water tends to go to this area. मतलब ये होता है ना कि यहाँ पे अगर आपने कुछ नहीं लगाया हो तो दोनों साइड काफी सारा पानी चला जाता है. Many a times what happens is that a lot of water, भाई जो यहाँ वाला है उसने सारा पानी ले लिया, ठीक है, मतलब यहाँ कोई फार्म हाउस है लेट्स से और लेट्स कोको कोला बॉटलिंग प्लांट, सो सारा पानी यहाँ चला गया. सो ये फार्म वाले नो यूज, मतलब they are not able to avail the facility of this irrigation which was created here. So a lot of things like this happen. Okay, so this is the problem with respect to irrigation potential in India. Thereby this year in the budget we have this accelerated irrigation benefit program. It was a program which was started in 1996-97 to provide central loan assistance to major, medium, minor irrigation project in the country. So what is major, medium and minor? Anyone? Major is anything about 10,000 hectares. Major, medium, minor, anything about 10,000 hectares command area, between 2,000 to 10,000, less than 2,000. This is the categorization by the government of India. Now under this accelerated irrigation benefit program, what the government is trying to do is that the government is just trying to complete it, nothing else. मतलब 20 साल हो गए, 1996 में हमने शुरू किया था. So what is the status? Only 143 of the 297 major projects approved have been completed. 89 of them are in different stages of construction which will be pushed on fast track. The remaining 65 which are yet to start are likely to be reviewed to assess whether it would be feasible to go ahead with them or not. ठीक है, तो अभी इस प्रोग्राम का ऑब्जेक्टिव यही है कि वी हैव टू डू इट, वी हैव टू कंप्लीट दोज प्रोजेक्ट्स. And one of the significant reasons for delay of this irrigation project is that it requires a lot of fund for large irrigation projects. The state is not able to mop up such huge fund. The center is also not adequately funding those projects. This is what is leading to delay. Further, there are time and cost overruns in most of the projects. There is problem of land also in most of the projects की land acquisition you have to undertake. आप लोगों ने सुना ही होगा नर्मदा बचाओ आंदोलन. So like you are creating dams. Why you are creating dams? This flood management is one of the reason, but the other reason is that it will also create huge irrigation potential. ठीक है. So such are the reasons why we are not able to complete a lot of the projects. But now I think now you very well know that drought like situation is there in most parts of India. Thereby irrigation becomes a very important topic. So anything and everything which you are getting with respect to irrigation in the news, so maybe you should try to go and read about it. You could expect a question, if not in prelims then in mains, with respect to irrigation in India. So maybe for the basics you could refer to India yearbook, or you could refer to the Ministry of Water Resources website, where you will get the basic data on irrigation in India. भाई कितना irrigation नदी के और surface water से हो रहा है, कितना irrigation ground water से हो रहा है, कितना irrigation well से हो रहा है, ठीक है. And then what is the percentage of irrigation in various states? In Maharashtra it is very less. That is what I think I have heard. It is not more than 15%. So maybe find this percentage of irrigation area in different states, and then try to come out with the reason that why those states are lagging in agriculture. Why agriculture is so high in Punjab and Haryana? Because of assured supply of water. मतलब soil तो ठीक है, but if you have such amount of water, then obviously you could go for agriculture. तो अगर आपको ये irrigation के बारे में if you have detailed data, then maybe you would be able to analyze a lot of other things which are dependent on water in India. मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, इसके साथ सरकार ने बोला है कि भाई हम ये सब भी यूज़ करेंगे. इसमें वन इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग विच आई वुड लाइक टू एम्फेसाइज इज द यूज़ ऑफ वाटर यूजर एसोसिएशन. That is, this is one of the example of, you could also say, participatory governance. That is, let's say if there is an area, भाई ये गांव है जहाँ पे ये अगर कैनाल जा रहा है, इस कैनाल की एक नहर गई हुई है, then we will create water user association which will determine how much of water will go everywhere. ठीक है, नहीं तो प्रीवियसली क्या होता था, वाटर विल आइदर गो टू दिस मच, दे विल यूज, मतलब जिसके पास जितना होता है वो उतना वाटर लेता है, ठीक है. बट नाउ बाय हैविंग दिस कंसेप्ट ऑफ पार्टिसिपेटरी गवर्नेंस, दैट यू वुड बी क्रिएटिंग वाटर यूजर एसोसिएशंस. And then they will determine that how much water needs to be given to every stream which is going out of it. And even this water user association will also be taking the money from these farmers. They will also be undertaking the, let's say, the maintenance work which needs to be done in this small parts. कई बार होता है ना कि छोटा छोटा मेंटेनेंस चाहिए होता है, तो they may also be given powers to undertake that maintenance work. So this is something which is important, maybe not in, let's say, economics. You could use this concept in polity. भाई पॉलिटी में आपने कई बार पढ़ा होगा ना, सिटीजन सेंट्रिक गवर्नेंस की बात करते हैं हम, या फिर वी टॉक अबाउट पार्टिसिपेटरी गवर्नेंस. तो यू कुड से दिस दैट दिस इज वन ऑफ द एग्जांपल और बेस्ट एग्जांपल्स ऑफ पार्टिसिपेटरी गवर्नेंस वेयर अकाउंटेबिलिटी कुड बी एंश्योर्ड कि सबको पानी मिल रहा है, सबको कितना पानी मिल रहा है. एंड देन this water user association could also recover the amount of money for the water given to various farms if it is charged. So that is something I think. एक last point ये भी है कि प्रधानमंत्री कृषि सिंचाई योजना would also be like would also focus on improving the irrigation facilities. तो उसको भी हम इसमें साथ में कुछ करने की कोशिश करेंगे. It may be working under the district administration because water user association would be like for every village. So I think district administration would be the controlling authority. So if you want to read more about this, you could refer to a paper by Mihir Shah. उसने 12 5-year plan का एक paper की summary लिखी थी. That is very good, where you will get all the information with respect to water in India. Or you could go back and read National Water Policy 2012. So in that, this all aspects have been covered. There was a issue in Yojana also. So maybe go back and see that Yojana issue on National Water Policy. Moving forward, just last two topics. DBT in fertilizer subsidy. ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है, देखो सिंपल सी बात है कि भाई फर्टिलाइजर सब्सिडी हम देते ही हैं. नाउ व्हाट वी विल बी ट्राइंग हियर टू डू हियर इज दैट वी विल डायरेक्टली गिविंग द मनी टू द फार्मर. We will be directly giving the money in the accounts of the farmer. Direct benefit transfer. समझ में तो आ गया क्या है. Now what are the issues in implementation? अब सब्सिडी इन फर्टिलाइजर के साथ दिक्कत यह है कि किसको कितनी सब्सिडी दोगे. That is how much subsidy to which farmer and on what basis. Because every soil, the requirement of every soil and crops differ. So how will you ascertain that how much supply or how much price is to be paid to which farmer? So though you could start this DBT in fertilizer subsidy maybe on a pilot basis, but then it becomes very difficult to ascertain this fact. So there is a problem of selecting criteria. There is also a problem of identification of farmers. Why? Because भाई एक तरीका तो ये है कि you said कि whoever has got a land, they would have papers of that land. On the basis of that land record, you would identify that farmer and give him a subsidy. But there are also landless farmers. How you will give subsidy to them? That is again a major issue. Then crop and location. Then will you give subsidy for nitrogen or phosphorus or potash, or will you also give subsidy for micronutrients? ठीक है. So all these things the government needs to chalk out. The government needs to come out with a plan that how they will be giving all subsidies directly to the bank account of the farmer. Currently I think you know what is the scheme. Currently the scheme is nutrient based subsidy, NBS, which is again a flawed policy. Can you anyone tell me why it is flawed? it is not on urea. So urea, which provides nitrogen, is still regulated by the government of India. Whereas the prices for two other fertilizer, potash and potassium, they have been deregulated. So what is happening? सबको यूरिया यूज करना है भाई, इसका दाम है 50 रुपए कुंटल, 50 रुपीज पर कुंटल. They are overshooting to, let's say, 1000 rupees per quintal. So which farmer will go and buy this too? Nobody will buy this too. So that is the problem which is currently happening. So because of this, what is happening? The NPK ratio, which ideally should be, if I am correct, 6:4.2:1. 4:? No, that is what I am saying. 6:4.2:1. So, or let's say 6:4:1 for general understanding. Okay, this should be the 4:1. Okay, I remember this, so maybe this might be also correct. Please go back and check. But this was the this was the correct. So now if you go back and see the data and figures from Punjab, it is as high as 90:20:1. Or if you go in areas of Haryana, it is as high as 73:23 something. So people have used urea to such high extent that their soil has become infertile. One of the main reason for that is this flawed policy. So what needs to be done? You also need to either deregulate urea. ठीक है. So if you are deregulating urea, or you need to increase the prices of urea so that it comes in consonance with the price of other two fertilizers. Now this is a pilot study which was done in Uttar Pradesh, where the state government created an online database, so that you could read. Nothing much the government did, but they were able to reduce leakages, improvement in the quality of service delivery, and the possible implications. Not much, but this is what the government is trying to do. It is still on a pilot basis. Let's see how it could come forward with it. Moving forward, I think the last topic for today, and the most important for you all, because और कहीं शॉपिंग करने जाते हो क्या? I think most of you would be shopping from the main companies. So e-commerce sector in India. So there could be a probable question from this sector. Why it is giving a background of the sector? It is important because it is the studies have pegged the size of industry at around $38 billion, and it is expected to touch $50 billion by 2020. So I think most of the firms you know very well, they are Flipkart, Snapdeal, Amazon, Paytm. Now here some technicalities we need to understand. 100% FDI is allowed in business to business, B2B. But you must have heard ना कि FDI को इतना पैसा मिल गया, sorry, this Flipkart को इतने पैसे, मतलब ये Flipkart raised a funding of this much $1 billion or this much $1 million. Amazon is pumping a lot of money into India. So all this money is FDI, but FDI is not allowed in B2C. They are platforms. So all these websites, they are marketplace. That is, they are platforms where there would be a seller who would be listing its product here. There would be a consumer. If he wants to buy this, they would just be acting as the middleman. Okay? So it was a unregulated space, that you could say. Thereby the government came out with new guidelines. What are the new guidelines? The government defined what is marketplace. The government defined that the marketplace model of e-commerce means providing of an IT platform by an e-commerce entity on a digital and electronic network to act as a facilitator between the buyer and the seller. Further, the government classified it into two forms. One is marketplace model, one is inventory based model. Now what is this inventory based? Inventory based का मतलब क्या है कि मेरी दुकान है, मेरा सारा सामान है और आपको खरीदना है तो आप खरीद लो. यहाँ पे दुकान मेरी है लेकिन सामान मेरा नहीं है. You getting the point? कि shop is owned by me here, but this belongs to the products which are kept here belongs to a number of seller. ठीक है, a consumer can buy them. Inventory based मेरी दुकान है and then I would also be owing some products which are inside I1, I2, I3. So government it tried to delineate these two models. ठीक है, now government said here FDI is allowed, but here FDI is not allowed. ठीक है, then there are also 3-4 criteria which the government came with in the new guidelines. इसलिए आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कि when the government came out with this policy, none of the e-commerce players were happy. भाई नहीं तो होता है ना कि the government has allowed 100% FDI in this marketplace model. So all the major companies like Flipkart, Amazon, they should be very happy because now they will be allowed to get a lot of money from the foreign companies. But they are not happy. Why they are not happy? The government also came out with some guidelines that a seller मतलब a seller can sell no more than 25% of inventory in a marketplace. इसका मतलब ये है, अगर हम हिंदी में समझें कि अगर मेरी दुकान है तो यहाँ पे बहुत सारे सेलर होंगे जो अपना सामान बेच रहे होंगे, तो गवर्नमेंट सेड कि दिस कांट एक्सीड 25% ऑफ द टोटल सेल. मतलब जो भी बेचेंगे 25% से ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. नाउ व्हाई इट इज़ अ बैड थिंग? बिकॉज बोथ फ्लिपकार्ट एंड अमेजन they had their own companies through which they used to sell. For Flipkart there was a company named WS Retail. For Amazon there was a company named Cloudtail. ठीक है, WS Retail nearly sells more than 40 to 50% of Flipkart products. Amazon more than 40% is by Cloudtail. Now since the government has this restriction, ठीक है, now they again have to either find a new company or they have to do some other management. So that is why they were not very happy. Other than that, they also have this, the government came out with this particular rule, the rule that states that e-tailers will not directly or indirectly influence the sale price of goods and services and maintain a level playing field. Okay, so here what it means that कि you must have heard कि भाई बहुत सारा discount मिलता है. Jabong gives you like 40% off, Flipkart gives you इतने % off. ठीक है, now by giving such discounts you are trying to influence the price in the market. You might or might not be, that is on the discretion of now government. So now if the government has come out with such a guideline, then you could see that a lot of e-commerce startups or companies would not be providing the discount, or what those government or what the company says is another matter. See what what Amazon does is that to keep the price of the products cheap, ठीक है, तो ये क्या करता है कि ये sellers को incentivize करता है. So now Amazon can tell to the government that we are not changing the price mechanism, we are not giving discount to the customer. ठीक है, it is the seller who is selling the product that cheap, so we have no role. But then what it does, it gives incentive to the sellers in the form of whatever product they have said. ठीक है, so this is what is known as कि भाई rules को, if you have to like circumvent the rule, then these are some of the procedures that are applied by the e-commerce companies. But let's see what happens. This is what is there with respect to e-commerce industry in India. I think not much from this sector, but this is an important sector. A question could be asked from this sector. So I think इसके अलावा there are 1-2 topics which I have left. One is this Indian pharmaceutical industry. Nothing much. आप पढ़ेंगे तो simple समझ में आ जाएगा. This is Setu Bharatam project. Again, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Swaniyojan Yojana. It is again renaming of the NRLM mission. And I think licensing of virtual network operators, again not very important. So I think broadly I have covered most of the important topics here. Any other doubt, I would be standing outside. You could come and ask me. Thank you.